Someone's got a question. Yes, please.
Is this your first movie, or have you been making movies for a while?
No, this is my first feature film. I've played small parts in films before, but this is my first feature film that we wrote and co-starred and produced it. So this is my first foray into that world. And it's been a mighty journey so far, I would say.
Is there anything else in the works right now?
Yeah, so Jake is my writing partner. We work together. Good news is we sold the movie last week. So hopefully it'll be coming to, no, actually not hopefully, it will be coming to a theater near you and iTunes and all that kind of goodness. And we are in the process of working on a television series right now. So all exciting. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Over there. Yes.
Any significance about the long pants?
You're so funny. Everyone, people have come up to me and said, like, those pants, that was such a great touch, that long pants. To be honest with you, I wore those pants, like, as a real person a few years ago. Like, not realizing they were totally unflattering and like, I should never be wearing them. And when we really had a small budget, so when we were doing the wardrobe to the film, the wardrobe supervisor came over, he's like, I need to see what's in your closet. And I was like, I really don't have a lot of Barb stuff. I'm like, a pretty great dresser, if I do say so myself. And he started looking at my closet, he's like, this is terrible, these are too long, these are too big. And we really made Barb's wardrobe pretty much out of what I already owned. So I guess I did have that stuff. I guess Barb's closer to self than I had anticipated. So no significance, I thought those were a real hit pant. So, joke's on me. Anyone else? Yes?
Do you do stand-up comedy?
No, I don't do stand-up comedy. I always wanted to. I don't think I'm that brave. It's not like really my skill set. I've done improv comedy. I did it all through college. I did it a little bit afterwards. Still not my skill set totally. I've always liked a script. I like riffing. I would say when we shot the movie, we'd always do one take of the actual script, and because we had so many comedy geniuses in there, you probably recognize like a lot of faces, but maybe not know their names. Jackie Hoffman, Hairspray, she did Curb Your Enthusiasm. We had Hannibal Buress, who's like a huge stand-up right now, but he wasn't at the time that we cast him. So we had all these people that were comedic geniuses, so it felt silly not to let them do their thing. So we'd take one shot of them improvising, and then the next shot we'd be like, all right, and now just go ahead. And some of like the best lines, the carrot cake, all that stuff was just kind of improvising. But no, I've never done stand-up, and I don't think I have the guts to do it, to be honest with you. Yes?
You actually just mentioned that you had some big comedic names. How did you get them to sign on?
Truthfully, we asked. I think being naive and never having made a movie before, we had nothing to lose. So we're like, we're just going to send our script to like Hannibal and see if he wants to do it. And that's what we did, and he did it. And there were a lot of people that said no too. But we got a few yeses. And I think when you don't know any better, but then just to ask people and go ahead, I think we were brave because we were naive, and we ended up making it. And when we were doing the movie, it was very ambitious. We did it on an ultra low budget. We raised the money ourselves through private investors. And everyone said, when producers saw the film, they're like, there is no way you could shoot 110 pages with 53 speaking roles and 37 locations for your budget. Like, not happening. And we're like, oh no, we're going to. So you're just not the producer that we're going to work with. So we'll just not everyone thought that way. Yeah.
How many days was the shoot?
It was 15 days of shooting. 15 days, 12 in New York City and 3 in Scarsdale. And New York's amazing about shooting, by the way, because we were going to shoot the family scenes in my in-laws in New Jersey, and the rules that they had with the parking and the blah, 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 we were like, you know what, she lives in Scarsdale, we're switching it, and we switched it to Scarsdale, and it was much easier to do. New York City for the entire shoot was $300, which is like unheard of. They were charging us like $600 an hour in Scarsdale. So New York is really accommodating and really wants you to shoot here. Like we had police escorts when we were on the highway, it was crazy. But it was 15 days. All the stuff that happened in the improv class was like 1 day of shooting, every scene in the improv class. All the stuff that happened with the blogs was 1 day of shooting. That was a horrifying day because it was 15 pages of just me literally going crazy in Bushwick in that apartment. So that was all improvised. Anyone else? Yes, please.
Did you use a lot of your friends in the movie?
Yeah, I happen to think Jake and I, he was here, so I'll speak for both of us. We feel like we have the most talented friends in the entire world. So why not make a movie and have our friends in it? I don't know when I'll ever get that opportunity again. Even going through this television series, a lot's like out of my hands and things like that. So we wrote movies. We wrote the movie. I would say pretty much 85% of it was cast using our friends, and then the rest was asking. Margaret Collin, who plays my mom, you probably recognize her face as well. She was not a friend. She is now. And we asked her to be in the film, but there were probably like 6 or 7 roles. The guy who plays my grandfather, well, that was a casting director. I did not know him personally, but he's a star, as you can see. He's comedy gold. So yes, I would say most of his friends. Someone had a question over in the corner. Yes, ma'am.
How much did the giraffe want?
It's really funny you mentioned that. Originally, we were going to have 3 different animals. It was going to start, like it was going to build, so we were going to have like a goose, and then we were going to have like a bear, and then we were going to have a giraffe. That's how we wrote it. And once we saw how much money the animals cost, which is a lot, Jake happens to know the guy who trains all the animals for Broadway, like who's in Broadway shows randomly, so we wrote him, and we're like, can you give us a figure about what they cost? And we had a serious email chain going back and forth about animals, and like, who was a really easy animal to work with and who's kind of a diva. And the email was like, you know, the lemur's a real diva, like she's a real bitch, so you're not gonna want her to walk back and forth. So it was like a very serious email about animals. But once we saw the price tag, we're like, we're just gonna have 1 giraffe and we're gonna VFX it, visual effects, because we can't afford to have a giraffe walk back and forth. Yes?
How much was the giraffe?
I think all in all, like for that 1 shot, which is the same shot, we just reversed it, was $12,000. Yeah. So you can imagine what a real thing costs. That was like cut out. We had a green screen in the back of me in Bushwick. The neighbors hated us. But it worked. And it's a really nice callback, we think, to the Roosevelt Island pop-up zoo. And the thing about the Roosevelt Island stuff is if you're not in New York, the joke really doesn't land. Our premiere was in Seattle, and nobody knows what Roosevelt Island is. I don't even know if people here know what Roosevelt Island is. But you do. It's a really quirky island off the 60s on the east side of Manhattan. I don't know one person that lives there, but we had to go there to shoot, so we just thought it was a real laugh riot. But if you don't know about it, it's not. Anyone else? Yes?
You said you did improv in school. What did you study?
I went to the University of Michigan, and I studied theater. And Jake, my writing partner, was a musical theater major. We were very close in college. We had a totally separate group of friends. He was like in the MT crowd, musical theater crowd, and I was in the straight T crowd. So we didn't really cross paths that much. But we had this instant friendship, and I did improv through an improv group in college. And once we graduated, we both moved back to Manhattan, and we started writing this. I would say Jake kind of went right out of the gate after school, and he was doing a web series called The Battery's Down, which was pretty successful. It was a web series before anyone was even doing web series. And it was a musical web series before Smash, before Glee. And while he was really making it, I was kind of just waiting by the phone for my agent to call. That was like my go-getter attitude. And 5 years of that happened, and I was like, you know, this isn't that proactive, so I think I have to change this. And it was the exact time that Jake came to me, and he was like, let's write a movie. And I was like, all right, let's write a movie. But that was really the story. And we always wrote the movie with the intention of making it. There was never an idea in my mind that, like, we might not get the money for this, and this might not happen. Like, we were, you know, we're gonna make it. That was how it went. And that's, I think that our success moving forward of having this idea that we're going to do it, so either you're on board to do it with us, or if you're not, wonderful, hopefully you will be another time. Yes?
Where do you draw your inspiration for all your comedy?
I've always loved comedy. I kind of grew up in a house that really appreciated comedy. I remember watching my first Saturday Night Live episode with my dad in a hotel room. I was like 8 years old, and since then I've never missed one episode of Saturday Night Live. I've always loved it. I'm DVRing as we speak. And I think New York is a pretty great canvas for all things funny. And comedy to me is stuff that's like everyday life and observations. I've always loved Jerry Seinfeld, Ellen DeGeneres, Lucille Ball, people who did really kind of small observational comedy. Cursing and dirty comedy has never been something particularly that I have found funny, but I know a lot of people do. So we wanted to make a movie that just made comments about corrosive looking like dog food, which it kind of does, but it's delicious. So that was the thought process behind it. So those are all true. Anyone else? Well, I thank you guys so much for being our first Long Island.